All right. Welcome to another Press X and Culture, Cold and Culture podcast. We are on episode 8, season 1, and I introduce my host, Lord Sonic.
Thank you very much, Lord Rockstar. Yes, after a pretty nasty laptop incident, it is in good condition. And originally we were going to record on a Saturday, but I had to tweak and twerk my laptop to get my camera working again because I had no idea what the hell happened. But it is what it is. Always make sure you can install older drivers.
Those good old drivers.
Oh yes. But how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. How have you been?
Just surviving. It is work has been fun. Being a teacher assistant, one of the joys of that is when your school is short staffed sometimes and people call out, you get sent to other classrooms a lot, and sometimes it's a great experience. Other times it is kind of annoying, but it is also just working with kids is draining because it takes a lot of energy to do a great job working with them, and the end result is while you come home feeling really happy that you did a good job and you really helped them become better people and learn how to do things, you're just mentally drained by the end of it. You always joke, oh, you never finish his games because I'm so tired when I get home from work.
Yeah, I mean, that was the problem before you had that job.
That I'm trying to give myself a valid excuse, and here you are, be. Bleh. All right, how are you doing? How
I
are you
am
doing, good sir?
I am doing well. I've finished the Kingdom Come journey. I am currently in 40 hours into AC Shadows.
Oh, nice, man. I guess we'll just dive right. Unless you have anything you want to talk about life stuff, we'll just dive into what we're playing.
Yeah, let's dive in. What have you been playing, good sir?
I have been playing, actually been playing a decent handful of games. So I rediscovered my Vita, and I've been using that to just play casual things on the go. So the God of War, PSP games, the PS2 collections on the Vita, and it just reminds me of how great the handheld was. I love the idea that you could have this little pocket PlayStation that you could just take with you everywhere, and that's really awesome. But outside of that, I've also been playing a demo for this game called Atelier Yuma, and it is essentially it's an RPG game in the Atelier series. And the whole thing with this one, unless the other ones did this too, chat, you can correct me at any point about this. The game basically it's a mixture of like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom esque open world with some like real time action combat, and the demo was fun. I put a good hour or so into it, and when money's a little better, I might buy it on the PlayStation because it ran really well on the PS5.
Mm.
And yes, it is one of those games where the character designs are kind of cultured. So, of course. But if you want genuine, more deeper impressions on the game and its merits, Mr. Matty plays did a pretty good job reviewing the game, so check out his coverage on it. Outside of that, um, I'm also largely through a combination of my good friend egging me on, and the Assassin's Creed account giving Grubbs the smoke he rightfully deserves. I had to reward Ubisoft, so I got AC Shadows, and I'm playing it with Ubisoft Plus, and I played over at this point an hour or so. I got past the prologue, and now just playing
Now,
now way. Just kind of explore, and I just kind of get into the whole groove of things, and I'm really impressed. Like the initial like stealth section you have is the game doesn't really overwhelm you in terms of like how you're supposed to tackle everything. You have quite a bit of options for transversal. I wish they kind of told you how to use the grappling hook a little bit better, but that's the only real criticism I have. Once I figured out how that worked, I just was assassinating people left and right, using the grappling hook to get back on buildings, slowly crawling around, and I didn't really feel that frustrated. And I don't know if I'm going to finish it, but my intention is I want to
I
love
can
it.
guarantee you won't.
Maybe I'll surprise you, hopefully.
Do you have 50 hours?
Jesus, no
And
way.
that's just mainlining it.
Oh, you mainlined it.
No, I'm 30 hours, and the main story is about 40 hours long.
All right, so I guess. So, how do you feel about the game so far?
Oh, I'll give my honest thoughts. I think the stealth is exceptional, especially if you put the stealth difficulty on hard, where like guards can spot you from farther away on rooftops. It's really a satisfying system of mechanics you have here with going prone, different tool sets you have. And then yeah, each weapon has its own exclusive assassination move. Like the
Ooh.
katana can kill people through the doors. I forgot what they're called.
Yo, that's cool.
In the Kurisaga, you can do like a rush assassinate, which you can do like a really like leap, like you can jump really far to assassinate someone.
Hmm.
And then the Tanto lets you do a double kill at once.
That's really cool. Since you played pretty far in the game, how is the balance between playing as Naue and Yasuke?
It can be however you want. You can play 90% of the game as one character if you so choose to. But there are still a few main story quests, but it's like 90% of the game is how you want to play it.
Oh
But
wow,
they
that's
still
really
do incorporate them into the main missions. Like some of like the big targets, they would basically have you like half the mission you play as this character, and the other half mission you play as that character. Because it's
and
like a
how
large castle you're attacking from two sides, from two different perspectives.
so how does progression work considering like you have to account for the skill tree for both characters?
So you just if you level up one character, the other character also gets points, skill level points, where you
Oh,
can
that's
expand.
really
But
that's
then
so
the castles, like each castle has like a specifically placed piece of gear. So like you'll see on the map, this armor set is for Yasuke, but you can still like do the castles now and unlock it for Yasuke.
hmm. So I'm guessing it reminds me a little bit of the progression that Ratchet with the Pod had, where whatever one character had, the other character had.
They're not identical. Specific
Not in
stuff.
terms of that, but in terms of like, there's not really any like progress impedance or whatever.
No.
So that's really nice to see. Like that was something I was kind of like curious about leading up to launch, how they kind of juggle the characters in terms of like how missions are structured and everything. But from your impression so far, it sounds like they really nailed that, considering how different they both
It
play.
is kind of like a little weird though. For example, I was just doing a mission. It was like I kill all the guards, and it's like they acted like Yasuke was dead the whole time helping you, but he wasn't. He just like came from the shadows. And said, yeah, I chased them away. Yeah, it was a little
that's
weird, but it works out in the end. They want it to be consistent, but don't want it to interrupt your gameplay experience, basically.
that's really smart, and I'm just glad that this came out in a really good state. Like I'm playing on, I think you told me you're playing on PC.
PS5.
Oh, PS5, okay. And I started my playthrough on my laptop, and I was really impressed at
Mm-hmm.
how well it ran.
It's a really good game. Low running. I'm playing 4 frames on PS5. It's a very stunning game.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I don't have the TV. I have a 60 hertz TV, so
Uh, yeah, if you
yes,
have one, I encourage 40 frames because you lose some of the hair strand physics if you go on 60 frames.
I saw that on my laptop, and like you can kind of set it where the main character can have the hair physics, and it looks wonderful on that way.
Yeah. So and then they don't have just ray tracing. They have something they call RTG. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's like really stunning how it works in the game.
It's global illumination, but
Thank you. Yeah.
it's because it's the ray traced version of that, where like something like Sonic Unleashed that had like baked like where Sonic Team literally just kind of told like like has a pre-calculated, hey, we want the light to look like this and that, this and that. With ray tracing, it's more dynamic, if I understand correctly. So there's a lot more like it looks more organic and realistic.
Yeah.
I think.
And then I'll just go quick overview of my thoughts. I think how I would say is I have some criticism of it. For example, the game really forces you to stick to the main roads. Often, I guess it would be due to the geography of the Japan is like mountains just often block you from exploring, or the cliffs. There's like really you can't really go around. You have to stick to the main roads. They have a system where you have like follow the line to keep you focused. And then for the because they try to do something interesting where they don't exactly have waypoints where they kind of give you general directions, or you have scouts. You like use the clues and send a scout to see if the target's there. It's a bit interesting, but in the end, I don't know if this doesn't really work.
I think there's an option in the settings.
Yeah, you can change it, but you can't get the platinum, I believe, if you do that. It's one of the trophies required to use the scout system.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's a trade-off if you play with accessibility settings, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think after the trophy, if you get the trophy, you can just play. But I think it's a cool idea. It's just, I don't know, it ends up making feeling the scouts like a currency system.
I think it's just a case of Ubisoft trying to mix up how they approach, like, oh, we gotta tell the player to go here, here, here in the open world, because they've been getting a lot of criticism since Elden Ring came out, and trying to kind of figure out what can work.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the waypoint system, because Rockstar gives you the directions all the time, and they're applauded for some of the best open world design.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's just
about the presentation. Look at how Ghost did it. You still have the waypoint. You just have a more organic way to tell the player.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great example.
Because Ghost is a lot more Ubisofty than Shadows is, I would say, but it just presents the world better.
So people don't think it's like a Ubisoft style experience.
It's just you got to make it less gamey, more organic, immersive. Like you don't want the player to constantly because my problem with Shadows is you're always opening the map trying to see where you're supposed to go.
Isn't that like a? I could have sworn it's like isn't that some type of compass like on the top of the screen?
Yeah. But like if it just tells you the clues, he doesn't know where to go. You have to open the map and look. You look at this north of this region, left of this, near this temple. Like you're not going to find that through the compass. And then kind of, I would. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, overall, my opinion is it's not the only thing it has above Ghost is stealth, but I think everything else Ghost did far better in terms of combat, open world, and narrative.
I'm not too surprised considering, like, you always roast me about how I never finished Ghost, but I played Sucker Punch's past titles, and they always did a great job with their stories. So
yeah. I think Ghost has a great story. What Shadows suffers is it tries to tell a non-linear story, which is a trend for Ubisoft games, which I think is kind of their downfall. Because you see this with Watch Dogs Legions, Far Cry 6, and now we see Shadows. They want you to play in any order you want, but like that doesn't really benefit the story. It just makes it harder for dialogue to matter if it's not in a sequential order.
I don't know if this is the best comparison point, but it sounds a little bit like how the past two Zelda games approach their storytelling, where you have a set beginning, you have a set end, but the whole middle portion of the adventure, the player kind of builds itself, and the end result is, while those individual stories can be enjoyable, I definitely felt Tears of the Kingdom did a far better job than Breath of the Wild in this case, but it doesn't have the impact that a traditional like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, or Majora's Mask would have. So
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think their stories have been suffering due to this trend in Ubisoft across the studios. I think you should stick to linear storytelling, which I think the next game will return back to. It just makes it harder for you to care.
Yeah.
Aside from the story, which I know a lot of people have fallen off the story and many reviewers, but I think I'm into the premise. It's just structured in a way that kind of makes it hard to care. Also a bit weird because like for the first 10 hours you basically don't play as the other character.
That's what Maddie.
Especially if you just release in the world and try to do all the side stuff, it'll probably be like 20 hours before you get to the other protagonist.
That's crazy. Like I guess
it's kind of supposed to be where like Yasuke comes into Act 2.
That it makes sense why they kind of approach it like that, but that is still a very interesting design decision because at that point in the game, players have to they don't have to since they still have the option to play as the other character, but they present sort of a whole new play style, and that might be an adjustment period.
It is, and then it's kind of funny because when you fast travel as Yasuke, you fast travel on top of a viewpoint. So when Yasuke jumps into a leap of faith, he like fails it every time.
That's funny.
He just like rolls like any landing you survive from is a good landing.
He's like, that's what, I survived. Let's go.
I like the attention. They really wanted to make these characters feel different. And I appreciate that. I really find Yasuke as a tank satisfying. Just rolling up on a whole fortress, being the one-man army.
The introduction did a really good job selling how powerful he was.
It is. And then I think the combat system is probably the best AC combat system in terms of the RPG ones.
I like
when it's very Ghost inspired. I can even see some of the UI has very similarities to Ghost.
Even the camera, to a degree, I would say.
Yeah. The lockdown system has been a bit finicky for me though. It's always like switches to the wrong target for some reason for me.
I imagine it's kind of tricky when you have like a cluster of people and the game's trying to figure out.
Because these are, instead of going more like an open landscape, you have a lot more like these big castles. And when you have like 5 enemies and like a small interior, it's kind of hard to with the camera.
That makes sense.
But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty great game. I think a lot of people are pretty harsh on it. But as a person, because for my experience, I haven't really liked Ubisoft Quebec's games. Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I haven't liked. So they really got me to change my mind on that one with this one.
I'm glad, man. Like I've enjoyed what I played, and I look forward to playing more of it. Maybe I'll try to play it on Xbox and see how the performance mode works. That could be cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's solid. I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's not as good as Ghost, but the stealth gameplay makes it worth it. Sure. Because you have a real lack of stealth games.
Yeah, that's a genre that needs more attention for sure.
Thankfully, we have Metal Gear later this year.
And it looks like a damn good remake, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for what we're playing.
I think so too.
Let's talk about some news. People can fly.
Oh, yes.
You want to take this?
Sure, let me just open up the doc so I can see. Oh, it's
in Polish.
Oh boy, let's see if I could. Can I translate this?
I'll just read the general. People can fly has entered into
okay, I'll just read the general because I can't translate that. I apologize, our audience. People can fly from Gears of War Judgment, Outriders, and Bulletstorm fame has entered into an agreement with Sony Interactive Entertainment on production of a game using a Sony IP called Project Delta. Now, considering People Can Fly's history of making over-the-shoulder third-person action shooters and their work on Bulletstorm, I pass the question to you. What IP do you think they're working on?
Project Delta is a really interesting name. Isn't that like 4, if I'm correct?
Let me double check on that one. Live podcasting, everyone. You're right.
So that is interesting.
Wait. As stated from Google, the 4th letter of the Greek alphabet. You know what? Let's link this to another.
If you think about military, it's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. So it is the 4th.
If a Sony IP. Now, what military shooter franchise has Sony made in the past that they haven't worked on in many years? Something along the lines of SOCOM, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think you really want to bring back SOCOM. I don't think it would be that relevant.
What about Killzone? Do you think they can... Killzone is appropriate for people who can fly, admittedly.
It is appropriate. I don't know. I don't know if they really see a future for Killzone, because it feels like they really haven't supported the franchise in terms of backwards compatibility or anything.
I'm trying to think. Because the obvious answer would be a shooter. And in terms of PlayStation, I imagine like Killzone, SOCOM as like the go-to shooters. Unless maybe they're working on a Resistance. But then again, it's the same kind of point that you would make with, say, SOCOM or Killzone, where PlayStation doesn't really see a future. And for something that they have a lot of funding in, they kind of link that with like movie projects or TV shows and for their multimedia push. And unless they got a Killzone show or a Resistance show somewhere coming out in the future, I don't know if it's one of those franchises.
Yeah. It's very interesting where you could go, but I don't know. Maybe they would reconsider Killzone or Resistance.
If they're gonna bring back either shooter, I'm leaning it being Killzone more, because that is between that and Resistance. Killzone is more iconic visually, because you can easily imagine the Hellgas, for example, or like the
Helldivers hype, they might see the future.
Exactly. Like even they did a collaboration with that franchise too, relatively recently. So if PlayStation's gonna bring back any of their shooters,
honestly, if it wasn't for the title, I would have assumed it would be a new IP.
Part of me is kind of thinking maybe because, as I said with when I read what Google said about it, like, oh, Project Delta, that Greek, okay, maybe they're the ones making a God of War game, because apparently, like, we can kind of link this to another story that's come up. Grubbs has commented recently that it's not a remaster collection for the God of War project. It's a spin-off set in the mythology of the series history. So, considering God of War is third person over the shoulder with, instead of guns, it's melee combat, do you think People Can Fly could be making a God of War spinoff?
They're not.
No?
This is just started in the beginning process. God of War is coming this year.
That's a good point. I was trying to think of...
And I don't think those skills translate at all together.
That's
God of War.
I'm just trying to put dots together here.
Yeah, I don't think it's God of War, that's for sure. I don't know. I could see it being. Maybe try Siphon Filter again.
Hey, so maybe. But I guess on the topic of PlayStation,
yes, another important point about this is that it's probably an Unreal Engine game.
Yeah. Another PlayStation game using Unreal Engine.
Yeah. I think all the Conquer stuff, it was a really polished Unreal Engine game. Well, moving on. Unless you have anything more to say about this topic.
No, I think we can move on to another PlayStation-related topic.
PlayStation's new first-party studio is called Dark Outlaw Games from Jason Blundell.
As the resident Call of Duty expert here. What do you make of this whole situation?
I have an interesting take about this. Now, Jason Blundell, he wasn't the multiplayer guy. He was the zombies guy. It was more of a co-op game than a live service first-person shooter. If I was a betting man, this is either a single-player FPS game or like a co-op single-player FPS game.
I'm leaning on it being like a single player with a like co-op mode in some capacity.
Perhaps like a Gears.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, and PlayStation would benefit from something
Don't
like
think
that.
the studio would be large enough to really deliver a big multiplayer shooter.
No, I don't. I wouldn't. They just started development on this, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably using the remnants from the Deviation Games project.
Yeah.
Which that was a poor like some co-op open world thing, like an open world shooter.
They're probably kind of repurposing elements of that and just polishing it up now, or who knows, really.
Yeah, but he seems pretty happy to work on Sony, and Sony it's great to have a guy like this under their umbrella.
For sure, any multiplayer experiences is helpful. Hopefully, we're not having a Bungie or Concord situation here. PlayStation really can't afford another one of those. But speaking of PlayStation, we got another PlayStation topic. Aloy's voice actor.
I think you skipped one story.
Oh,
the next Metro game.
I only did that because this is another PlayStation topic. It's like we're in a PlayStation section. I thought it would be a good fit. What do you think?
I think we have more PlayStation stories later in the episode as well.
Oh, you know what? All right, I'm going to let my co-host take the reins. You go.
This is just a short one. The next Metro game has been made even darker since the invasion of Ukraine.
It makes a lot of sense considering everything they went through. Yeah. I imagine those horrors and everything just...
There's also a new spin-off team from like ex-Metro devs, I believe. They're making a new game. It's taking place in Latin America, I think, if I remember.
Is that the team that made the VR game that's coming out soon?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's good. I like it when devs take real stuff into their games and tell powerful stories.
You're putting a bit of yourself into the product you're making.
Here's what they're called. 4A Games Ukraine, known for the Metro shooters, known for Metro, have formed a new studio called Reburn and are working on a new sci-fi shooter called La Chimera, set in a futuristic Latin America setting. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, I'd love to see a lot more Eastern European talent flooding the game industry.
It's just great to see growth in the industry that is just dealing with layoffs and everything, man. It's just nice to see.
I have some insight about the layoffs, actually.
Ooh, you want to touch on that or move on to the next topic?
We can touch on that. I would just say I've heard, last year we had the big layoffs. Through these layoffs, they cut very specialist positions. And now that they're rehiring, they're looking for more generalist positions. So basically scaling down teams, we have less people who can do a lot more different types of things where it was just one person's whole job to do a UI, where that would be more general to a game designer as a whole.
So from what you're saying, they want the industry wants more jack of all trades rather than masters of a single craft.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of veteran devs that have always been generalists, and it was kind of like a laughed at idea, where you should specialize in one rather than just trying to do a little bit of everything. But it seems like those older devs who are doing that generalist are getting more popularity now, and they were right.
Well, it looks like the industry is healing a little bit, so I call that a win.
It is.
If we can call it one.
It's a win, for sure.
Well, something that isn't a win is our AI overlords potentially infringing on the art and craft that voice actors are doing for video games. Ashley Birch, the the actor and motion capture actor for Aloy in the Horizon video game franchise, expressed major concerns about AI, considering since PlayStation made a prototype where they used Aloy as an example of an AI dynamically talking with the player, and as taken from InsiderGaming.com. Let me just find a little bit here. Okay, I want to make sure I have her exact quote on hand. In a clip uploaded to TikTok, Ashley Burch addressed the current SAG-AFTRA strike, which is taking place because AI technology exists. She says, and I quote, "I feel worried, not because of the technology that sorry, I feel worried not because the technology exists, not even because game companies want to use it, because of course they do. They always want to use technological advancements. I just imagine a video like this coming out that does have someone's performance attached to it, that does have someone's voice or face or movement, and the possibility that if we lose this fight, that person will have no recourse. They wouldn't have any protections, any way to fight back, and that possibility, it makes me so sad. It hurts my heart and it scares me. I love this industry and this art form so much, and I want there to be a new generation of actors." And she isn't the first one to fight back against AI replication. Insider Gaming cites that other prominent actors such as Roger Clark, who does Arthur Morgan in Red Dead 2, and Ned Luke of GTA 5 fame have spoken out against videos using AI versions of themselves. And it's not just these actors as well. There's a lot of actors in the gaming space that have been upset about the whole AI voice thing that has been running rampant. Like, it's genuinely distressing when you have talent who's making these amazing experiences or offering like their heart and soul into a performance, and in the future they're not called back because all the work they did was used to train a robot to just do the voice that the only person that gets paid is someone to maintain the systems, and that's like one person or two people maybe. It's just really sad because specifically in this case with Ashley Burch, like, Horizon is a major series for PlayStation. They've been really trying to push that at Aloy as one of the key pillars for the PlayStation brand. And you're telling me that they're not respecting the actor by just having her in the room when doing these AI tests? I mean, I get that you want to use Gorilla's impressive technology to kind of get the ball rolling on some of this stuff, but as much as people criticize Aloy's character and her performance and her voice actor and everything is pretty damn critical to the character. So it's just a shame that it sounds like she wasn't even in the room when these tests were even done. It's just sad.
I would say that they didn't use her performance for this test.
Thank you for adding that to the conversation.
And Gorilla did let her know before it happened.
They did let her know, or they didn't know?
They talked to her before, like letting her know there's a it wasn't like used for a game. It was like basically a tech demo pitch like to Sony or some like other people.
Okay,
like, what the potential can be like for let's try this tech out with our character Aloy.
So that adds. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know. This adds interesting context to her comments. Then
it's more like I don't know if you've seen, but there's always like these car concepts that never come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Just it was like not to say that there isn't a danger here, but it was just a concept. But I don't think, let me say this in a nuanced way, I think it's this. I think it can be beneficial to everyone. It's just what the SAG-AFTRA is having an issue with is they're having an issue of defining what all these elements actually do and how we can protect actors.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's struggling to define all these different texts and features of AI. That's why negotiations are kind of still stalling because they're like debating how to define stuff, what they actually mean.
Yeah, this is also affecting the whole strike is also starting to affect voice performances in some games now where
I believe Insomniac has been cleared with SAG-AFTRA, I heard.
yes.
They agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And another studio, I'm not sure who.
All the current Sonic voice actors, even though some of them are part of the strike, Sega is cool with them, with their performances. I just remember seeing recently, it was related to some of the Genshin voice actors. I don't, the names escape me, but some of them are like one of them got replaced. A major character got their voice recast because they're more okay with the potential of their voice being trained by the AI while the prior voice actor wasn't. And because the contracts weren't like negotiated properly by Hoyoverse and everything, they didn't bring him back for the role. They just got a new person, and I'm wondering if we're gonna start seeing more of that.
I mean, not to say the use of AI doesn't have bad actors, but I think you just have to use it if you use it responsibly, everyone can win.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know. I think it could be interesting ways to use it. Like there are ways to have AI dynamically react to conversations you can't record for every context.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can have it to be more dynamic to respond to, like, for example, dialogue scenes, where you have like dialogue choices.
You can also use AI. Like I remember seeing a video that showed like for Liza P. Like they used AI voice for one of the demos for NPC dialogue, and they eventually added the proper voice actor in once that was finalized. It was like a placeholder for the time being. So that's another possible use of AI.
Yeah, I'll just say there are pros and cons to it, like anything. It's just people, SAG-AFTRA and the company and the studios need to figure out how to find these elements properly to have it fair for everyone on all sides.
Agreed.
And it also can have benefits to helping speed up game development processes, like having templates ready, and then you just have the designers and programmers customize them.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good conversation. You got anything else to add to it?
I appreciate you adding the additional context of Ashley Birch being aware of everything about the tech demo and everything, because I wasn't aware of that. So
yeah, I watched her video, which she talked about it.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about Bobby Kotick. He files a suit at Kotaku. No matter how we feel about Kotaku here.
Oh boy, let me open this up so I can get some additional context to this one. So let's see.
Bobby Kotick, the former CEO of Activision Blizzard, has filed a suit in Delaware against Go Media, naming Kotaku and Gizmodo specifically. The suit complains that both outlets attempted to smear Kotick, but going out of their way and besmirch his name by mentioning false withdrawn allegations of discrimination and workplace harassment. It was claimed by Kotick this article was penned with the malicious purpose of causing further harm to his name, which was at the time already considerably tarnished.
I'm trying to think. I remember. Is this? I'm reading an article now, and it doesn't really mention because there was a whole story of of work misconduct in Activision a few years ago before the whole.
There was a settlement. I think they didn't have enough evidence, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think this is related to that though. Right?
Well, I think they just called him like a disgruntled CEO or some other kind of insulting way. Like he's saying those claims were never proven, so you can't call me that or whatever. But I'm going to be honest here. I've listened to a lawyer's take on this on a podcast on Last Stand Media, and basically what I've gotten from this is that he just wants to make people afraid to talk about him like that way, like fear of a lawsuit.
A rich person trying to put fear in people not to talk bad about them. Wow, news at 11, right?
Yeah, it's like Nintendo. Nintendo has the fear of people of imitating them.
Oh boy, Nintendo, they something else.
All right, already covered that. Right, covered this, my man, as your Xbox guy. I'm sorry, Microsoft gaming guy.
Yes, Microsoft gaming, because I've ascended, so to speak. But PlayStation logo was spotted on the Starfield Creation Club website, and as stated from Insider Gaming, spotted by ex-user Okami13. A mod on the Starfield Creation Club website features a PlayStation logo alongside a PC game and Xbox logos, hinting that a PS5 release could be around the corner. These logos are supposed to signify what platforms the mods are available on. So, what I read about this is inevitably Starfield is coming to PlayStation sometime this year. And with the roadmap already that we know about already of releases like Age of Mythology, Forza Motorsport, not Forza, Jesus, Forza Horizon 5, and Indiana Jones, all, and then following those, Doom. So we have a set of 4 games coming out from the beginning of the year to the end of the beginning of the year to around the June period. So we don't know the full lineup for Xbox, and with the Switch 2 on the horizon, I would not be surprised at all if we get Starfield on Switch 2, Starfield on PS5, and I also expect we're going to probably be getting other Xbox games on other platforms as well this year. But it's just a matter of time. Starfield had its time in the spotlight on Xbox and PC. It clearly did well on them. So now it's time to get more money out of PlayStation players.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they have Starfield on PS5 in time for the expansion.
There you go. That's probably the plan. They want to get the PS5. Me and you had these discussions before Shattered Space came out, and I'm guessing we were just off a little bit with the timetable.
Yeah.
It was for the second expansion, not the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But we got another exciting story. For Star Wars and Knights of the Old Republic fans out there, you don't have to wave the white flag, because apparently Saber is still cooking on their remake of KOTOR. And it's nice to see that. Let's see. Tim Welts, Saber Interactive's chief creative officer, recently shared some information on the games they're working on. He stated on X that the studio is currently working on several games across different genres. And he also said that all the games are still in development, and many assumed that this is related to KOTOR. And details on the game have been kind of dark since they took over the project, but with Saber being such a versatile and just good studio, I wouldn't be surprised they're just quietly cooking on this while they're just getting other games out like Space Marine 3 and other titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're slowly cooking. It'll come out eventually. Hopefully with real combat instead of turn-based.
Do you think they're gonna change that?
I don't know. They might go for a hybrid approach, I would assume. Kind of
I
like
think that's probably what they would do to just appease everybody because they just go fully in the action camp. It's gonna upset fans, similar to how Final Fantasy fans were up in a tizzy when 16 was just straight up Devil May Cry. And I still stand on the fact that the combat was really, really freaking good in that game, but whatever.
ah, someone can say it's nostalgia.
You got the old ones if you want nostalgia, but that's enough of Arcade's toxic hot takes. We got let's talk about a Rainbow Six Siege.
Rainbow Six Siege X reveals a new 6v6 game mode, dual front with its upcoming relaunch.
And not a Ubisoft game in the oven. And it's
Well,
good to see that
not
Ubisoft is
really a
still
game, more like an update.
fair enough, but it's just good to see that Ubisoft has more stuff releasing this year.
They've taken a smart approach. They know you can't do the same thing twice here with Rainbow Six, so they just want to patch it, make it bigger, make it ready for modern hardware, just add new modes and test new things.
And Siege does make them money. I don't know if it makes them a lot of money, but it has quietly been successful for them.
Yeah,
So
this relaunch will help, I'm sure.
So why shake up what's already there?
Yeah. X is pretty. I think X is pretty good idea for adding it to the name, like multiply it by everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about Split Fiction.
Yes.
I've also been playing this actually. I think I'm near the end.
Nice.
It has surpassed 2 million copies in a week.
I am not surprised. Like, as I've experienced with unfinished playthrough of It Takes Two, that team at Hazelight are geniuses, combining so many different game genres, and it just somehow still feeling incredibly polished. So I'm not surprised at all to see that.
Yeah. It's a really great game. I feel sad because they might get shit after the game, or I think it's really crowded here.
Well, I could imagine it's going to win Best Family Game. I could easily see that.
Probably. I'm sure my favorite AI lover will love to talk about this one.
This actually isn't. This actually, jokes aside, this actually isn't.
I have one pushback about this. PlayStation has already been doing this without AI, with their hints thing from.
That's actually a really good point.
Because I abuse the hints in Astro a lot.
Let's, before I touch on that, let's just go over this real quickly. Xbox Copilot for gaming was announced as the ultimate gaming sidekick, and hold on 1 minute. Oh, looks like on my end. Let me just close this. Okay.
Well, let me read this. Right, you got it?
Yeah, you read it because I feel like it almost I thought it crashed for a moment.
This AI-driven sidekick is designed to be your personalized gaming companion, helping you get your favorite games faster, coaching you to improve your skills, connecting you better with your friends and communities. Jeff Rubenstein, director of Xbox editorial, said, "Copilot for gaming will be there when you need it, but out of the way if you don't." During the podcast, an in concept example of how the new tool could work was shown using Minecraft. In the game, a player picked up wood and entered a prompt asking, "Okay, I've got some wood. What do I do with that?" Copilot for Gaming answer explained how to turn the gathered oak logs into wooden planks. Another example shown involved Overwatch. A player asked the tool for help on who to pick after the hero they wanted. Echo was already selected. Echo's taking, but Casting would be a solid pick with this team, Copilot says. His mid-range hit scan and mercy damage boost will work great in Illinois' Ruins. Plus, you've done great with him on this map before. After the player dies during the game, Copilot explains that it happened because they stayed in the fight for too long It's suggested to regroup with the team the next time they're in a similar situation.
I remember covering this. I covered this for Lords of Gaming, and my opinion on it is it's not as intrusive as other AI initiatives from Microsoft, and it could genuinely be useful. But the thing is, if it actually is implemented in the console space, and it's not just some basic testing,
Mm-hmm.
this might put more work on teams when you have to when making Xbox versions of games, considering they're gonna have to account for Copilot, or if they want to support it, or if not, they just don't need maybe they don't have to support it. And for people concerned about cheating, there's already a built-in. You have to enable this option if you want like more in-depth answers, like they showed in the Minecraft example. But what you mentioned earlier about Astrobot, about how you use that hint system and how this has been a feature implemented inside the PlayStation 5 since launch. I
Basically,
feel
it's
like
changed a bit, I believe, because during launch it was like given by the developers, but with Astrobot it was like created by the community.
yeah, that is interesting. Like, so PlayStation basically started the initiative and did the work themselves, but at a certain point, they stopped natively supporting it themselves and just letting the community
And
pick up
it's
the torch.
worked pretty well because community, someone figures it out and they share it. Like for the look good like hidden Astrobots, for example. Sometimes you just can't find them.
Does it work? Does it work with third party games or is it just first party games?
I don't know. I've never really used it outside of Astrobot. Like I've never used it outside of platformers.
I don't think did Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart have this support?
I don't know. The Ratchet and Clank didn't really have hard puzzles, so I didn't need it.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't see the harm in it. I
I don't
mean,
either.
I don't. I can understand if you want the figure it out skill issue thing, but like I feel like for example in Minecraft, it tells you what the recipe is that you might want to use.
Exactly. It's a tool. It's AI being used as it should, a tool to make the experience better for gamers and everyone alike.
Or I can catch you up, say if I'm playing a game in a month. Arcade. This is where you were left off.
Oh my
This is what
god.
happened in story previously.
And so basically every game I freaking boot up like you jerk. Oh man. But I guess speaking of things that are potentially problematic, we
Oh
have
boy.
EA Skate early alpha having microtransactions ranging from 5 to 99 euros, and this is a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie, because the
Bro, it's an
game
alpha. What are you doing?
just I don't get it. Like the game isn't. It'll be one thing if this was a free. It launched a free to play, and you need to get your revenue. Like it is what it is, but a it's not even finished yet. Like unless you're trying to just test things out and see if people are receptive to microtransactions,
Test that with the developers' credit cards.
you can find that out when the game releases, and then you can go from there. Why do you need to do this process in the middle of development? Like,
In the publics.
and the thing is, this is EA. They they know how this stuff works. Why do you need to test it here?
I don't know. I have bad vibes about this game. I think it's gonna be a very greedy free to play game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of funny because Joseph Ferris says EA never does anything scummy when he's around.
Oh yeah, because he puts his foot down and he has authority to not go along with what the executives want to do. It feels like him and the respawn team basically are given free reign to do whatever they want.
Speaking of high authority figures, Hideki Kamiya I couldn't allow myself to kill my soul working at Platinum Games.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why he reformed
Clovers.
Clovers. He reformed Clover Studios into Clovers, and a lot of former Platinum staff is back in that building again. And
Let me read this quote. The reason I left Platinum Games because the company's way of thinking was gradually shifting towards a modern model of game development that doesn't place importance on the creator's individuality. He continued, even if it meant the end of my career as a creator, I couldn't allow myself to kill myself in order to work in an environment I didn't agree with.
I think this is we've seen this.
I think this relates to Babylon.
Not just that, it goes as far back as the Wii U era, where Platinum was basically shopped around between various like licensed projects with Activision and everything. Like there was a pretty long stretch of time where they were just picking up anything to get work. They made a subpar Korra game. They made a genuinely enjoyable Transformers game. They made a lackluster Turtles game. They made all three of those titles of short windows and small budgets. And then you have them being co-developers on the critically mixed Star Fox Zero, and they only really got like a big boost when they basically did the combat work for Nier, or Yoko Taro. We're not joking around about me mispronouncing Japanese names here.
Not again.
No, not again. But in the end of the day, Platinum has always been a studio just struggling to stay afloat, even when their games are critical successes. So
We got the
Kamiya,
Microsoft money now.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's interesting how that panned out. It makes you really wonder if Kamiya was in the building during the initial development process for Ninja Gaiden 4. It makes you wonder.
It does. Let's talk about Ubisoft for a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Ubisoft shareholder claims company failed to disclose meetings with EA and Microsoft about IP acquisition.
They were surprised at the fact that they were shopping around.
This is a surprise me because I think I've seen the rumblings that they want to bring the company private, which we'll talk about some other Ubisoft related news later about what that means.
Yes, indeed.
Let's talk about Death Stranding 2. It had a release date announced.
This is all you because I'm kind of just, Kojima does what he wants. I'm good.
Kojima releases Peak. His release date has been announced for June 26, 2025. He released a 10-minute long-standing Death Stranding 2 trailer. It was a really great trailer for Death Stranding fans, and there's also a $200 collector's edition that will include a copy, art games, doll minifigure, a letter from Hideo Kojima, and a 15-inch statue.
So my question to you, as the number one Death Stranding fan out there, are you getting a collector statue?
No.
Okay.
I'm not even. And let's also talk about another point is first PlayStation games to do early access.
Oh, that is interesting. They don't do that usually.
I think it's experiment. This is the test bed. Well, Kojima also has a limited edition watch for this, like $1,500.
Wow. But the early access thing is interesting because Microsoft has been doing it for a while now. Other publishers are doing it for a while now, and this is.
It's a smart play when you think about development budgets.
It is, and if we want to avoid the $100 video game, this is.
There's only one game that might get me for that, but I don't think they'll do it.
I hope my cynicism is wrong about that, but we'll touch on that eventually.
It would be a bold move if Rockstar did $100 for 1 month early access.
I think everyone's expecting $100 to be the baseline for GTA, and
Everybody is expecting of some, let's say, yapping on the annuals who spend time and time alone.
all I know is that if that game actually is $100+, you guys have fun while I play something else in the meantime.
It won't be. It's going to be the $70.
I hope you're right, brother. I hope you're right.
I don't have to be right. I just have to have common sense. They're not stupid. They need this for $2 billion. You need a lot of copies to be sold. And making it cheap might be less money, but in the long run, if you have 200 million players eventually, you're going to have more than $2 billion in profit.
Oh, I agree with you completely. I'm just saying I hope you're right.
A Microsoft account is required to play Forza, a single-player game with some online capabilities.
Yeah, this was the case for Sea of Thieves as well, if I remember correctly. And before you say, "Oh, Forza Horizon 5, it is largely single player," there's a pretty decent multiplayer component to the game, and the game has a lot of online requirements and functionality. So it also let's not beat around the bush. I am very surprised that Forza Horizon 5 still hasn't been delisted yet. They delisted 4, they delisted 3, and these games usually have a lifespan of 2 to 4 years on the market before they go MIA. So the fact that Horizon 5 is still being sold is pretty damn big. And also the fact that there's a reason there's no physical edition. Because I'm genuinely wondering how if next year we find out, oh, Horizon 5 is being delisted on all platforms. So
Let's talk about some voice actors. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has turned Hans Capon actor into a superstar streamer in 1 month.
this is all you, man. How do you feel about all this?
I'm glad to see actors who are, a lot of them are kind of underpaid. I love seeing these actors like stream the games they've worked so hard in, telling the behind the scenes stuff.
That's awesome to see, man. Like everyone's been loving KCD2. You've been gushing about it. Like Dukes have been gushing about it. And I'm just really happy to see that it turned out to be a really great game.
Let's talk about some Battlefield. Battlefield 6 leaks are revealing a Battlefield 4 vibe. There was some backdoor playtest, and I wouldn't be shocked if EA themselves told players to leak this, but there has been a lot of gameplay leaks, and a lot of people are impressed.
I didn't really see any of the leaks myself, but everyone's been very positive about it. So it's good to see, especially since.
Yeah, but EA's got to delay this game to 26, man.
Yeah, they need a good Battlefield after the last one. The last one,
I'm sure it'll be good, but the timing of 2025, I wouldn't go for it.
Yeah.
I'm even skeptical of Sony launching a game this fall, or possibly 2 games this fall.
It's true.
Let's talk about RoboCop Rogue City.
Oh, yes.
Has announced and launched Rogue City sequel announced and launches this summer. And thankfully, it's also been added to PlayStation Plus. We'll talk about later, the first one.
Yeah, I got it on PC, but I'm definitely want to try it on PlayStation. And I'm glad to see that a game like this got a sequel. And it's
so
always
quick.
good to see stuff. Yeah, exactly, man. And coming out this year too. That's awesome.
Yeah. I've just recently watched the first RoboCop yesterday, so I think I will check the first game out through PlayStation Plus for sure.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about Respawn. It has canceled another FBA's game.
Yes. I'll take over this one. Let me open up the article. In a post on LinkedIn on Wednesday, Evans revealed that the incubation project she was a part of had been scrapped. The unannounced project I was a part of for the past year was canceled this week, so I'm joining a group of extremely talented and kind people in the games industry searching for a new role. while the project was announced, was expected to be a multiplayer FPS title, and it follows the cancellation of Respawn's Mandalorian game that they were making. So it is interesting seeing Respawn kind of have laser focus on the next Jedi game, and apparently
They have to look beyond it now because that's going to be ending their Star Wars games. I don't think it's abnormal because it says in the article it was just an incubation project. It's probably like just a prototype.
That makes more sense.
I mean, this reminds me of Bungie because we learned like they had like 10 incubation projects.
Oh yeah,
and
also
Sony only saved like one of them for that new studio.
It's also worth noting too that Respawn is one of the more prominent EA studios, so having multiple like prototypes in the oven makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but if you learned in Bungie's case, that was kind of their downfall. They were pulled in way too many directions at once.
That is true.
I think once Respawn releases Jedi, they're done with Star Wars. Need to decide what they want to do next. Is it Titanfall or something new?
It's good. You know, it would be a real twist of fate. Instead of it's basically Titanfall 3, but it's not called Titanfall 3. It's called Apex.
Well, I mean, there was a pitched Titanfall game that was, but it was like it was going to use the Apex characters, but in a single player campaign. That got canceled.
I was making a joke, and now I'm upset.
Your joke happened already, and it was canceled.
I guess something that isn't a joke, though. Last of Us is getting a limited edition DualSense controller. Most likely to coincide with the TV show and the PC port of 2 Remastered.
I like this controller. He looks nice.
It does.
It's just white and black with a few, of the famous symbols of The Last of Us through his tattoos.
Yeah.
Looks good. I'm waiting for that Ghost of Yōtei controller because I know that will get me.
I imagine.
Let's talk about Saros. Wouldn't have been possible without the Sony acquisition, says Housemark.
This isn't very surprising to hear, considering thoughts. It is not really that surprising, considering they needed to have Returnal to have a framework to make a bigger game, and PlayStation gave them the room and the freedom to experiment and figure things out.
Yeah. The development budget is akin to Alan Wake 2, they say.
That is impressive to hear. So
that's around the 50 to 70 million range, I think.
That's good.
This is a really good acquisition because the cheap development cost over there in Finland, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this
was pretty good, smart move on Sony, and we're already getting another game from them next year.
That's crazy. They launched. They was at the launch, and they're going to be at the tail end of the generation. So that's good to have.
Yeah, well, that was the year after the launch.
Yeah.
2021.
But
I'll let you take this next one though.
Of course, good sir. Following the success of Persona 3 Reload, we have potentially a Persona 4 remake, and this was discovered by social media personality and YouTuber Scrambled Faz, and they found the domain p4re.jp, and it was the domain was registered on March 20th. Now, many would be asking, what does this mean? Domains registered all the time. Well, Faz pointed out that persona3re.jp was registered in 2023, and then a few weeks later, Persona 3 Reload happened. And with Persona 3 Reload being a critical and commercial success, it only makes sense to use that Unreal technology that they used for the Persona 3 remake and apply that to Persona 4. And as Persona 4 was one of my... I dabbled with JRPGs and turn-based stuff. Persona 4 Golden was one of the first turn-based games I've put hundreds of hours into. I remember playing the hell out of it on my Vita. I loved every moment of it. It was such a wonderful experience. And while I love Persona 5 Royal and I have fond memories of Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4's cast is so freaking good that I'm like, man, that's gonna be so cool to see again. But the big question is, what is gonna be changed with the remake? Because while Sega doesn't skimp out on the budget, get paid.
I mean, the voice actors you can debate.
Considering it's Persona 4's stacked voice cast of Laura Bailey, Troy Baker, and so many others. Unlike Persona 3, where you can kind of look at them kind of changing the voice cast and be like, well, they're just, giving new voice actors a chance to really shine with the familiar cast of characters. I'm going to have a harder time adjusting to new voice actors for a inevitable Persona 4 remake. And I usually don't mind voice actors being changed up, but Persona 4's voice cast was so iconic, and like Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Spider-Man, he was Yosuke, the best friend character in that game. That's gonna be weird hearing a different voice out of Yosuke now, and same with Kanji, Troy's voice actor. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird, but Atlas is really, really good with picking good voice actors for their projects. So I trust that they know how important nailing the voice cast is going to be. And you're just sitting there going, yeah, you just my co-host is rambling for God knows how long about nonsense.
I've played all the Persona I need for one life.
Yes.
And my co-host rambling still hasn't finished Metaphor. Big fan.
Brother, kindly shut up. just kindly shut up, please.
I'm just saying, you owe it as a Persona fan.
This year.
All right.
Okay, Mister. I beat everything I play. Talk about this one.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has made 5 times more in sales than the original.
That's good to hear. It's a good game.
A great game. And I'm really happy. They did a really good job with that. One of probably my favorite RPG of all time currently, beating The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk.
That's awesome.
Now, let's talk about something our co-host spoiled earlier.
What do you mean spoiled? I was mentioned. You're funny today. You know what? I'm going to take over this one, okay? Good, sir? All right. I'm going to take over this topic. So, it has been reported on by Grub that we're going to be getting a Greek God of War experience this year, but it's not a remaster collection. It's a new side story project. And it's worth noting that it's the franchise's 20th anniversary, and the 20th anniversary was celebrated with armor and skins being added to Ragnarok for free. And it's interesting to hear that instead of making a easy remaster project, they're making a new experience. So I'm kind of wondering if this new experience is going to be more closely aligned with the older games, which have a more limited camera perspective and just more traditional hack and slash combat, or is it going to be more similar to the latest installments in the series with over the shoulder melee combat with the shoulder buttons and the like? And honestly, I'm not sure, because
I'm confident.
Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing the return of angry Kratos going Zeus and the like. But in all seriousness, though, it's gonna be really cool to see God of War go back to Greece because the Greek era was. I love those games. I though that's that's my God of War that I grew up with, and seeing that come back again in any capacity is really cool. And it's a really nice way to celebrate the franchise's long anniversary as one of the key pillars of PlayStation.
Well, in my opinion, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed, Mister Only finishing the old games. That is going to be a new style God of War with Kratos kind of returning to Greece, or maybe Atreus going to Greece.
Way to be a Vista buzzkill, good sir. Way to be
Buzzkill, I see this as absolute win for the superior saga and possibly teasing what's to lie ahead.
Superior saga. Look at you doing this with your hands and looking all smug over there. Okay. I love that.
I'm just saying, if you completed it, you would see the beauty of the storytelling, the gameplay, the combat. And many of these same people who worked on the original worked on the new ones. Eric Williams, the director of God of War Ragnarok, was the combat guy through the whole series.
I will not refute that the new games do not have good combat. I'm just saying I prefer the older playstyle of the God of War series. But you know what? We're gonna go in circles, and we have a
I mean, God of War Ragnarok saw 15 million sales in a year, just a year proves the majority think otherwise. 15 million sales, that's a big major franchise, and I'm not surprised we're getting more of it.
Yes, but speaking of successful franchises,
let's talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows becoming the game franchise's second highest selling launch day title, second to the game that came out during COVID and a new console generation launch.
That's really damn impressive, honestly.
And this is going to be treated more as a live service title because with the success of Valhalla, they realized if we can gear this more live service single player, we can get a lot more revenue.
They already given out one expansion for players. They've
been literally drip feeding the modern day with like weekly content. So yeah, I am seeing this about. I even my speculation, my theory is that the battle pass that is currently free was originally paid, but due to the heat, they made it free.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, but let's talk about one of the wildest stories. Game Informer is apparently brought back by a blockchain company.
This is like that, you know, the meme of the monkey's paw? This is literally one of those moments.
Apparently, they're letting Game Informer remain independent. They're called Game Informer Inc. now.
Yeah, and as somebody who is actively part of the video, like the journalism side of gaming with Lords of Gaming, and as someone who grew up with Game Informer issues as a kid, this is wonderful to see. Like I remember, I'll always remember the Jack free and Ratchet free covers for the issue. I remember they did like a really cool Batman issue for the Arkham games back in the day. Like they had some great covers. They did some great coverage, some good stories, and it's just really nice to see them return not just as a website but also as a magazine. And all their stuff, if you sign up, you get access to their archive, which that's video game history right there. That is amazing to see.
That sure is. I love Game Informer myself sometimes. I remember especially in the launches around what was like Spider-Man 2018, God of War 2018, interviews they did with developers, the 100 quick fire questions.
I have to catch up on all like their recent years. I mainly just remember them from when I was growing up, and I just had like stacks and stacks of issues. But
yeah, I just love because they always like visit studios and got like exclusive coverage, showed off like gameplay. They showed off they first to reveal the combat God of War Ragnarok, I think.
Ooh, that's cool. Oh yeah, they had like the Game Informer like
Month,
firsts.
yeah, month coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's talk about my bread and butter.
Oh yes.
Ghost of Yate
Ghost of Yōtei.
reconfirms 2025 release window. The official Ghost of Yate website has been updated with some new info reported today. Let me just read some tidbits. Atsu is seeking revenge for the death of her family after her homestead is destroyed. New weapon types, dual katanas, Odachi, Kurosagama. Set 1603, 300 years later after Ghost of Tsushima, but very similar to AC Shadows. Massive sightlines with sprawling grasslands and icy tundras. Vegetation sways believably in the wind. New mechanics and gameplay improvements. The land surrounding Mount Yate is outside the rule of Japan, a wild frontier filled with unexpected dangers, still released in 2025. And then, reportedly from some leaker, there has been some other insight. There is a rumor that Ghost of Yate might release in July, and that Ghost of Tsushima did an update in March 2020, exactly the same year in 2020, before they released in July 2020.
So, as what do you think? Do you think that it's going to release in July? Or do you think it's going to release closer to August?
That would be very ambitious, because what is it, March? The marketing cycle to July is very small.
It is very small.
But Sony has been kind of getting smaller and smaller with their marketing cycles. Remember God of War Ragnarok, we found a date about like in September and released in November.
That's true.
And Death Stranding 2, what are we, a couple months away as well? Just found out.
But the thing is, like, this is launching the month right after Death Stranding, and that is going to be a substantially sizable open world experience. So, what do you make of that?
I mean, they'd be smart not to have two single player games in the fall, I would say. But also in 2022 they had The Last of Us remake September and God of War November.
That is true.
I don't know. I think it would benefit them to go in the summer.
I think it would be better if it launched in August, so you give people enough time.
I don't know. I think if you release like July 20th, that gives like a full month.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that working.
So like, I believe, yeah, late July kind of works out for them. I mean, if you compare it in 2020 to The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima went back to back.
That is a good point too.
I don't know. I think you would benefit because Death Stranding 2 isn't that seller, so like it's gonna, if you give it its monthly attention, you'd be fine. It's gonna be a slow seller.
They're probably figuring we're not expecting a lot of sales with Death Stranding. But we are expecting sales from Ghost of Yōtei. So
Death Stranding 2, it just sells over time. I believe it's all like 4 or 5 million copies, something around that area, maybe more at this point. I don't know. I think I could see it. I think it'd be smart. We have another summer game we'll discuss later.
Oh yes.
Let's talk about your bread and butter. Xbox
yes.
exclusives are dominating PlayStation's pre-order store.
Yes, and let me just open that up right now. So, Xbox exclusives Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and Forza Horizon 5 are at the top of PlayStation Store's pre-orders. And the pre-orders have overtaken titles like Death Stranding 2, and this also includes the digital deluxe editions and like the early access versions of these games as well. And that head of titles like First Berserker, and just it's really interesting to see. This is interesting because it kind of I'm gonna steal an analogy that Lord Cognito uses sometimes when he talks about this type of topic. They don't like they don't like the music Xbox makes. but they like I messed up the analogy already. The short version is the PlayStation gamers, they would be excited about Xbox's lineup. They don't want to pay $500 for another box to play those games, though. So the fact that these games come in the PlayStation and very likely Switch 2 in the future, those are games that they want to play and they're more than willing to pay money to play, but they're not willing to pay the money for the console because of they want their platinum trophy, they want their controller, they want potentially PS5 Pro enhancements for these titles. Like, there's a lot of reasons why PlayStation gamers would just wait for Xbox games for their box rather than buying another box to play those games. I get it. And with Sea of Thieves popping off the way it did, but in contrast, you have stuff like Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment really doing very little. It's gonna be interesting to see what kinds of games appeal to the PlayStation gamer from Xbox's lineup. What is like, say, something like South of Midnight or Fable or Hellblade 2 or whatever is good. How are those games going to do on PlayStation? Are they going to do just
I
as
think.
well as Indiana Jones and Forza Horizon 5 seemingly doing, or are they going to fall in line closer to the Hi-Fi Rush of Pentiment?
Yeah, I think you'll see. You'll see those games like stuff. I mean, there will be a mild success. I think Fable will be a big success based on name and nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of Xbox players in PlayStation.
That's a big thing. A lot of the hardcore Xbox 360 players, they migrate over to PlayStation after the Xbox One launch blunder.
And
So
games like South Midnight remind me of the games of like Kenna,
yeah,
and I think those were mild successes. So I think it'll be fine.
I hope so.
Just yeah, and I think when is Kenna May, if I'm right,
Um,
April or May?
South of Midnight.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not Kenna. South Midnight.
I know South of Midnight launches.
April.
Yeah, it launches next week for the early access, and it has its full launch outside of early access on the 8th, I think.
Oh. But yeah, this isn't what's it called? The Oblivion's rumor for April, right?
April's gonna be a crazy.
Indiana Jones.
Let's do a small tangent for Xbox in April and how utterly insane.
I have a beef with Xbox on this. Why do they do this to themselves every single time?
Ugh, it's so stupid. Like,
Bro, June. There's only Death Stranding 2 and MindsEye. That's all there is. Or
yeah,
July.
you
Or
could.
July. August.
Why not? Like, let's just go like you in April. Between the between on Xbox or for
And then you
Xbox
have Doom in
players,
May, right?
yeah, like the roadmap is for between April and May is Indiana Jones, Forza, and apparently Oblivion remake slash remaster for all platforms, and then for Xbox specifically, South of Midnight and Clair Obscur, and
Oh yeah,
then
Claire Obscure, forgot about that.
you have at the sometime like I think it's mid late May, you have Doom. Like, you could have easily slotted Oblivion before Doom, or you could have put that in June. Like, I don't understand I really don't. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, you make fun of me how I don't finish games. There's no way in hell I'm gonna finish South of Midnight, Clair Obscur, and Oblivion remake in one goddamn month.
That is true. That is wild.
I don't understand. I don't understand the strategy, like, at all.
I really
Like,
don't either.
at the very,
Spread them out. How much you want to bet that 2026 is gonna be like half empty?
I think it's a mistake that I'm gonna make the wow comment. I think launching Indiana Jones in such a crowded month on PS5, if Oblivion is coming out and Forza is right there, is a mistake because Indiana Jones, even though like obviously you can attest to it.
I think Indiana Jones will sell.
It's gonna probably sell, but it's one of those games that it takes a bit to kind of pick up for people.
But I think you're gonna have to run. I think you're gonna run the risk of kind of killing yourself in Midnight or Clair Obscur.
I think it.
I think Indiana will come out on top on this because you have that high Uncharted nostalgia, especially when they bring Nolan North on screen.
Oh yes, that was such a wonderful ad.
That was such a smart ad.
I love that.
I bet you Sony wasn't happy about that ad.
Sony was not happy about that at all, but I love.
They never directly said it; they just inferred it.
Well, absolutely. They just straight up said, "Hey, welcome to the club." That was so good.
They play that ad so smart.
That was so good.
Bethesda should market games for Xbox.
And the funny part is they use that marketing for the goddamn PlayStation release. When that's what they need to do more of, on to be honest. Like if they really lean into the marketing for like their multi-platform push, then their multi-platform push will be a success. Maybe if they actually marketed Hi-Fi Rush on PS5, it would have sold well on there. But getting off topic, the end point on my end is,
it wouldn't be an episode of ours with a Xbox rant.
Of course. I just feel like if you're Microsoft and you're trying to make this,
I have a feeling this is for the upcoming quarter financials.
Yeah, they really want to kind of make it clear that they just want to just have a very firm like stamp saying, look at our initiative going everywhere. We're a success. See, look at all the numbers this and that did. I personally think though, South of Midnight is unfortunately going to be the one experience that, due to its nature of being Xbox and PC only, is going to get the least amount of eyes on it compared to everything else, because everything else is on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shame, because that is, out of everything coming out in April, that is the game I'm the most looking forward to playing. So I'm going to just be enjoying this, and then I'm going to just hear that, it just barely got enough sales numbers, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, Xbox, what are you doing?
But
let's talk about PlayStation Plus.
Oh yes.
Now we briefly discussed this earlier, but RoboCop will be on our April monthly games, which should be installed on this upcoming week.
Yes, and in addition to that, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a multiplayer horror experience, and that will come out on both PS5 and PS4. And the sole PS4 game is Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth: Hacker's Memory, the sequel to Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, a Vita/PS4 RPG game using the Digimon franchise. And it's really interesting seeing this collection of games. You have RoboCop, you have a first-person shooter, a horror multiplayer game, and a JRPG. Nice eclectic mixture of titles.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about one of them.
RoboCop. I know you're so excited about Digimon, man. I know you're so hyped.
Well, let's talk about the next topic, which is your bread and butter as the only one of us that plays Nintendo games.
Oh yes, because you're missing out.
I am not getting a Switch 2.
I hope that Switch 2 is $400. If it's $500 or higher, I don't know if I can afford it. Being real, audience.
You can play games at 5 frames through cross-gen.
Just don't. Being real, or our audience, just being honest with you all. If the Switch 2 launches in June and all the pre-orders are sold out the moment the Nintendo Direct ends on April 2nd, don't expect Lord Sonic to be able to get as much coverage out as everyone else. But on topic, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond has got a new gameplay trailer at the Nintendo Direct, which was a pretty sizable direct featuring a lot of stuff. But I'll mention all that after talk about Metroid. Metroid Prime, the game it showed off Samus being on a new planet. It was just, if you played Metroid Prime remastered on Switch, the visuals are no surprise. It is genuinely really impressive visually, stable 60 frames, high resolution from the looks of it. The combat looks enjoyable, and Samus Scott has new psychic abilities, and you can actually control where your shots go, and that's gonna be really fun to play with for puzzle solving. That's for sure. But
640p, 15 frames.
No, you'd stop being messy over there, good sir. It genuinely runs. Metroid Prime Remastered is genuinely one of the best looking games on Switch.
But that's a remastering of an old game, a next gen game.
Yeah, but Metroid Prime 4, like when you think of the Switch, you don't typically think of high native 1080p resolution and stable 60 frames, especially with Nintendo's most recent batch of games where you've been having performance issues and resolution issues. So stuff like this, stuff like Xenoblade X Definitive Edition launching and everything looking genuinely really good. It's just nice to see as the Switch hits its twilight years that Nintendo finally got around to just having optimized games. And that's not asking for a lot, but it feels like it is sometimes. But
well,
there's another.
Oh, you have more?
I have. I'll just use this as excuse to just briefly mention Nintendo Direct. Just in general, there was a lot of reveals at the Nintendo Direct. You can check out my Lords of Gaming article going over all the announcements, but two key announcements got my interest specifically. Sony was present at the Nintendo Direct with Patapon 1 and 2 remastered collection.
I thought they licensed that out, didn't they?
Yes, but they also licensed out Hot Shots. So Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. And these are Studio Japan, Sony Japan adjacent titles that are coming to a new platform. And you could say, yeah, they licensed them out, but these are Sony IP on non-Sony devices, and Everybody's Golf Hot Shot specifically, that franchise has history specifically being a PlayStation exclusive. And this is a brand new release in the series being revealed on a Nintendo stage first versus at a state of play, which they could have easily revealed it there, but they chose to reveal it here. So that tells me that...
Are they publishing it?
Bandai Namco is publishing it.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what this tells me is PlayStation is, since they don't really have a need to use their Studio Japan libraries, they're just kind of but they want to make money.
Well, we saw that with there's that one video game they licensed.
Freedom Wars.
Yeah. That doesn't shock me. They don't care. Not to say this abruptly, but they don't give a rat's ass.
Well, I feel like it's interesting because they just...
I do find it interesting that they are licensing all the IP, but it makes sense if you have literally no way to really support this franchise as a AAA series.
Yeah, they don't want to support Studio Japan stuff as a AAA series, so they're just licensing out to Bandai Namco. And a report suggested that they also licensing it out to Sega as well. The report listed Bandai Namco and Sega. So I don't think it is only Studio Japan games then. I think they're also going to consider... I think it's very likely that other franchises might be on the table, like giving Sega give Wipeout to Sega's racing team when they're done with Sonic Crossroads, or hey, it's you have
that seems very interesting.
Yeah, hey, you have a small You have a small team within Sonic Team. Get them together to make a remaster collection for the Ape Escape games on Switch, PC, and PlayStation. And I think it's also going to inevitably lead to the PS2 collections coming back, with the push being, hey, yeah, we're going to add these as freebies to PS Premium people, but you can buy them on PC and Switch. It's easy money. Collection of the PS2 Jack, Ratchet, Sly games. Easy money. I could easily see that happening. I don't think we're going to be getting...
I think Ratchet and Sly is too far-fetched. I think they're going to continue with their strategy of putting those on PlayStation Plus slowly, one at a time.
Yeah. It's just interesting seeing this, and I don't think
this is mostly for the more niche franchises they really don't care about.
It's also worth noting that there's no Xbox version for any of these games.
Shocker.
I know, right? Wow, I am stunned, speechless, but
they're petty, man.
Yo, they...
what they did with Metal Gear 3.
Oh, that was funny.
They're a petty company.
Context for that, everybody. If you didn't listen last time, the Ape Escape mode that was in the original Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence is restored in the PC and PS5 versions of the remake, but on the Xbox version, y'all getting Bomberman. Wow, okay. Hey, at least they're getting compromised with something, right?
All right, let's talk about Tomb Raider. Developer Crystal Dynamics holds layoffs.
Oh man.
17 people. The studio made a difficult decision to let go 17 people from the company. The statement is, ultimately, this step was necessary to better align our current business needs and studio future success. The statement reads, it's not a reflection of our dedication or ability of those affected. We recognize how painful this outcome is for those impacted. We may support them with transitioning packages and opportunity outreach.
Sorry, go ahead.
The statement ended with the studio saying that it remained committed to pushing boundaries of making games, nor does it change any of its current projects.
I have a question. Do you think this is because Tomb Raider is almost finished and they're just getting rid of the...
I have another bold theory.
What?
Might be the team that was a support studio on... What was that Xbox game?
Perfect Dark?
Yeah, Perfect Dark.
But does that imply that the game is almost ready then?
I mean, you would assume that it's already in production. But probably I would assume they're a 2026 launch.
I would assume the game's releasing around that time too.
Yeah, I mean, the support. I mean, they're still going to support them, but maybe I don't know what Microsoft's payment structure is, but maybe.
Well, Microsoft is known for using contractors.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe Crystal doesn't have really any other projects to put him on. Tomb Raider, they have more than enough hands on it.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe Tomb Raider is almost ready to go. That would make sense.
I would assume Tomb Raider is a 2027 game. Because I think we only heard about casting scripts a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say 2022 or 2023. So that would have been them just starting production.
Yeah, I guess we will see how the cookie crumbles with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also an unstable publisher.
Yeah. Also, Crystal also just came, not just, but they also had to deal with the situation with Avengers and being sold to a whole new publisher. So.
Yeah. The Witcher 4 will not release earlier than 2027.
Not a surprise.
CD Projekt Red hires 50 plus new devs to work on The Witcher 4 and other projects.
Other projects,
the Boston studio has quietly been growing. It's working on Cyberpunk Orion.
They're cooking for sure.
Yeah, they are. I'm going to imagine, I think Witcher 4 might hit 2027 or 2028.
I would lean on 2028, more likely.
But I think the more interesting aspect is, do we have a cross-gen thing again?
Hey, it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end.
But the problem is, if they do go next-gen exclusive, we saw with the PS5 how slow the adoption rate is. That would be kind of financial suicide.
If they're doing the cross-gen thing again, I really hope they learn their lesson with Cyberpunk.
I mean, I could argue with Witcher is far less demanding than Cyberpunk was. It's more of an open, fantasy land.
Yes,
super dense city.
But that doesn't mean that history.
It doesn't mean history can repeat itself, but we're at a point where PS5 and I'm assuming PS6 will have very similar hardware. The worst case scenario is it'll be 30 frames only.
Hey, well, I guess we'll see.
I just don't think it'll be as big of an issue as the PS4 would be. And I think it would be financial suicide. Because the adoption rate is just not there.
It's not.
We're just seeing with the PS5, we're still kind of struggling until GTA comes out. And I don't know what the PS6 console seller will be.
It's probably going to be the same thing all over again, more so with how tariffs and a potential recession and other factors are going to make things really bad.
Yeah. Ubisoft is forming a new subsidiary company.
Yes, they are. They found a way to survive.
Basically, the idea here is they created a new company which will hold its most profitable IPs. Not the studios, but the IPs, where investors can invest in these IPs for like a % of the profit, I would assume. And then this money is used back to Ubisoft for development.
Yes.
So I'll the challenge just the IP.
Yeah, I'll read a portion of the statement that Yimons. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, this is internal of just workers and developers.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a good spot to. Okay, so he says, and I quote, "I want to express my deepest gratitude for your resilience, tenacity, courage, and creativity, all the qualities that make Ubisoft a truly unique company and that helped us overcome a challenging period over the last few years. The coming months will be directed to shaping our next chapter. Of course, this next step in our transformation will raise many questions, including on an individual level. We are committed to keeping you regularly informed, answering your questions, and providing visibility on the next steps." And they basically made a move to survive. That's basically what this was. And let's hope that, Tencent doesn't fully gobble them up in a few years.
Yeah, even if it does happen, they will maintain control as they own a very big % of Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a problem because they win either way. If Ubisoft stays or if Ubisoft gets gobbled up, they stay in power and continue to make questionable CEO decisions.
Absolutely.
All right. Bloomberg, WB Games has canceled Hogwarts Legacy DLC. What did I say?
I heard you say Bloomberg. Maybe I misheard you. I apologize.
Oh, Bloomberg. My bad.
Now you're gonna get clipped. It's your turn.
That wasn't that bad as mispronouncing Chinese cities in a New York accent.
Ah, come on. I go about your Jesus Christ. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry, audience.
Well, anyways, I think it's probably smarter than to cancel this, as Rockstar has probably finally got the Batman game off the ground, or hopefully close to, and that it's probably a little too late for a DLC and trying to relaunch the game for another full price sales.
And honestly, if you could have made the argument that if they didn't release Hogleg on Switch 2, they could have not Switch 2, Switch 1. They could have justified this being a Switch 2 launch game, but since, it did come out on Switch, there's no reason to be wasting resources on Hogwarts Legacy DLC when they could just put that, whatever they did with this, in Hog Leg 2. But it just kind of goes to show that there's a lot more riding on than this on Rocksteady's Batman project, because they don't have this to kind of keep the lights on. They're fully making Batman now.
Yep.
So
I'm sure they suffered layoffs too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big news, the important news. Naughty Dog is apparently working on an unannounced game for 3 years.
What is this unannounced game?
This project is led by, or reportedly, the director of The Last of Us remake and Uncharted Lost Legacy. Speculation is this is the rumored Uncharted 5 game that we've seen a tease from by Sony.
This would be really interesting because Naughty Dog this would be the first time in their history that they returned back to a old IP that they finished.
Yeah. I wonder, they're kind of like, they don't trust anyone else with it. So that's what you have with The Last of Us remake, where it was originally from Visual Arts. But, but Naughty Dog was proud about The Last of Us.
It would make sense because they
need a safe project. They take very interesting, let's say, risks to trigger the public.
Do you think this, since it's been in development for 3 years quietly, when do you think this will come out?
I think if you have Uncharted 5 as a PS6 launch game, that's a way to sell consoles.
That would be a way to sell consoles.
Uncharted, and then when is that Santa Monica new IP coming? 2027 or 2028? Because they're releasing God of War this year, so maybe their new IP is in 27, 28. So that would also be a stellar launch game.
Yep.
But I mean, the new IP is kind of harder to sell a console on.
That is true.
But yeah, I think that is really interesting. It could be Uncharted, or Uncharted could be some new studio that's been invented.
Or maybe Naughty Dog is is returning to Jak and Daxter.
Let's be real.
Come on, man.
There is 1% hope that happens, and that's not happening.
God damn it! I'll have that 1% of hope. I'll have that 1%.
I could see that this is also kind of like a co-development.
Yeah.
The Uncharted 5 game, where it's like they're leading it kind of, but they have like another studio that's kind of doing a lot of work for them.
Like they kind of create the vision and the team develops it. I remember this kind of approach being done with Fire Emblem Three Houses, where Intelligent Systems basically wrote the script. They created like a whole bunch of like they made the template and the core idea, and they just passed it off to the
just like how you kind of you gotta educate this new studio on this IP before you hand in the reins. Like
that makes sense.
If they see that the game is good, then they can continually they can oversee them as they make more Uncharted games, but kind of sit back a bit.
Especially since it's clear PlayStation wants Uncharted to be a more like consistent franchise in terms
of. It should be. I think it's kind of like it's history. There's a lot of opportunity to explore, and they set themselves up very well with Uncharted 4. Let's move on to a very big story. I would say MindsEye from Leslie Benzies.
All you, brother.
Has released a story trailer and with its date in June 10th. And there was an interview with at Eurogamer from one of the associate directors, I believe. Well, I'm just going to go over some quotes. It says, "We can't wait for players to immerse themselves in this tightly crafted game with a thought-provoking story where technology and ambition collide and inevitable consequences unravel." Adam Whiting, assistant game director at Build a Rocking Boy, told Eurogamer, "It's not worried about clashing with traditional E3 or in summer games, period. Maybe allow us to talk to players, engage with players at a time in a meaningful way. We're just excited for players to finally get a chance to play. He also confirms it's a standalone game, but it is kind of connected. He said you can access it through the Everywhere platform, but mostly we're focused on MindsEye. This project was first revealed in Gamescom 2022. It confused players with rumors of NFTs, but that was denied at the time. Then MindsEye will also be a linear game where it'll be kind of like Mafia, where it's not open world, but there will be like the city might be open for the player to explore in, but it's not an open world game.
So they have the scope smartly kind of aligned.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new studio. It's probably more budget than what you say at a big AAA studios.
And plus, they probably were very much well aware of GTA 6 on the horizon. Like, hey, we'll worry about kind of trying to one-up them next go-around.
I actually predict that this game is going earlier to stay away from GTA.
Yeah.
And an interesting aspect is it will not be $70. It will be $59.99. That
is interesting.
He also noted during the industry's rapid expansion during COVID-19, which was followed by global layoffs, we're seeing a lot of stuff happen in the industry right now. It makes me sad because the game industry is full of many very talented, very lovely people, he said. But it's the period of ebbs and flows, the peaks and troughs. Maybe it's a bit of a trough now, but I'm sure it'll peak again. He also noted that NetEase's recent apparent pullback from video games hasn't affected the studio negatively.
That's good to hear.
So there's nothing that lets us make any compromise like that. You know, Leslie, he's a visionary. He doesn't want to compromise the vision for anything.
Sounds like even if NetEase pulls out, they'll use their own funding to get that across the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a game, and then another interesting feature we have is if you pre-order the game, you get upgraded to the deluxe edition for free.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And apparently there will be a MindsEye multiplayer game in 2026.
That's interesting. So they're kind of following the formula of Grand Theft Auto, but they're kind of waiting a year later for the online mode.
Yeah, it's probably going to be smaller in scope and scale, but
yeah,
I'm sure it'll be interesting.
So what do you think of the trailer and everything? As Lord of Rockstar,
I think you have a very timely story with talking about how you've seen the story that the mayor tells the CEO she wants access to the back end of the city because everything has been automated through AI. Very timely in the era right now.
Absolutely. They're very, very smart.
What about automation and what that means in the city?
Oh, yes.
And then there's some other interesting quotes I would like to point out. He says, I think there's ways to engage an audience with a video game that you can't necessarily do in a movie or TV because you're not passively viewing it. You're interacting and engaging with characters in the narrative. And I think there's something really powerful about that. And another important aspect is there's a part of where the slightly old school sense comes in with MindsEye. It's a shorter side by modern standards in around the 15-hour region. Despite what the team has described as a form of Fox open world, elsewhere it was fundamentally a linear narrative, increasingly familiar refrain. As the penalty slowly swings back once more, S-Game, the studio behind the upcoming Phantom Blade, expressed a similar sentiment to us just a few days ago. We're seeing a lot of some of the old school philosophies coming back.
Love to see it.
Leslie hasn't made a game since then, so that makes sense. All right, we have Alpha Midnight preview times.
Oh yes.
Get away.
Alrighty, let me just open up the. Okay, so South of Midnight reviews and impressions will be going live on April 3rd. And expect Lords of Gaming to have coverage on South of Midnight, same with the Iron Lords podcast, around that time as well. I'm not reviewing it. I'm gonna just be playing it either during the early access period, since it's only a $10 upgrade fee, or at launch. But I'm looking forward to this a lot. Very happy.
I better see you celebrate this game, RK. I better see you finish this game since you celebrated so much.
I will try to. Honestly, it shouldn't be too hard since it's a short game, but yes.
Let's talk about an interview with Strand Zelnick. GTA 6 will have a shorter marketing cycle, which I have speculated is when you see trailer 2 is when the marketing cycle will begin, a 4 to 6 short cycle, which is a bit different in previous years. Strauss says, we found that better thing to do is provide marketing materials very close to release window. That's what we're trying to do. He also says this in another quote. The lack of GTA 6 news is to create enormous anticipation. Shocker.
And anxiety for everyone in the game industry.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that happened. I'm also sure Sony has to know.
Sony.
I don't know if you saw this, but apparently Strauss Zelnick in an interview had like this custom silver or some plated PS5 behind him.
Ooh. I think PlayStation I think all the major PlayStation, Microsoft, Nintendo, they all know when this is dropping. It's just
I'm sure, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Sony has a deal. They
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, Borderlands exclusive state of play.
Yep, that's coming up sometime in the summer, so I wouldn't be surprised. But
Onimusha will take 20 hours to complete.
Oh yes, that's good to hear.
Well, a few other gameplay features releasing in 2026. Flashing and parrying confirmed. Difficulty options not completed yet. Not open world. The story progresses in stages. You'll be able to use an environment to your advantage. Katana will be your main weapon for the entire game. Aim is not to make it extremely difficult, but they still want to offer a challenge. Kyoto will be the main setting, but the location may change, possibly Europe. First new ammunition in 20 years, and it'll be a while before the next information was released.
Makes sense. They just announced it.
Yeah, only a year away.
It's gonna be cool, man.
Come on, Nintendo, man.
Oh yes. Oh yes, indeed. So let me open up Doc. So Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct on the 25th of March. And surprising everybody, this is before the big April 2nd Direct where they're going to break down everything with the Switch 2. And a bunch of games at the Direct include Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD Remake, which showed off gameplay signifying that, hey, this aligns with what was done with Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake. And it is going to be releasing on all platforms later this year. There's a sequel to AI, the Somnium Files, and it's going to feature more surreal storytelling and a new escape mode, adding new layers to the investigation gameplay. Atlas fans rejoice with another remaster from the back catalog coming back with a Raul remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army, and the remaster. And Atlas released a video breaking down a whole bunch of changes to the title that they're going to be adding, and it looks like a bigger remaster effort than they did with Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which was a more direct port, so to speak. And this is really nice to see. It's releasing on all platforms on June 19th. And then Pac-Man's, Darkness is going to have an appearance with Shadow Labyrinth, which is taking like Pac-Man and other Namco classic franchises and putting in a darker setting with Metroidvania style gameplay. And it's going to launch on all platforms on July 18th. I mentioned this already, but Patapon 1 and 2 Replay.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's releasing on PlayStation platforms, PC and Switch, July 11th. No Xbox. And the remaster includes quality of life additions, including a command list, because in the game, the way the game plays is like you have pat pawn. You have to press the buttons corresponding with like the different like the beats and everything. And memorizing all that could be annoying. So one quality of life addition they added was you can have the list of commands at the bottom of the screen now. In addition, they also had like various settings for input latency as well. Um, there's a new Story of Seasons game coming out called Grand Bazaar, and it's releasing on the 27th. We discussed Metroid Prime 4 Beyond already, but there's no date given for the title, just a 2025 release. I'm assuming we're going to get the release date at the Switch 2 event next week. They're holding out on that because there's probably one of the cross-gen games.
Mm-hmm.
One of the shadow drops was a Disney Villains Curse Cafe game, which is, just a fan like you mix potions, you talk with iconic Disney villains, and it changes the way some dialogue encounters change. Another exciting reveal was Witch Book from Chucklefish and Robotality. And it's a spellbinding life sim launching on Switch, Xbox, and PC, winter 2025. Eternal Life of Goldman from THQ Nordic has a release window for the holiday season. It's coming out on all platforms. What really kind of got my attention on this one is it's hand drawn, and he uses his cane Scrooge McDuck style, so you could bounce on enemies, you can upgrade the cane to overcome challenges and combat encounters. Konami revealed Gradius Origins, which is a collection of 6 iconic arcade shooters, in addition to a new title in the Salamander franchise, which is another like arcade shmup. And it's going to be releasing on all platforms on the 7th. Then you have Rift of the Necrodancer, with the Switch version shadow dropping at the Nintendo Direct. It's a music game based off of the Rift of franchise. And the DLC was revealed, showing Celeste and Pizza Tower songs going to be added to the game. You have Tomogachi Plaza, which is a shop simulator series based off the popular, toys. It's releasing on Switch June 27th. They showed off a new trailer for Pokemon Legends ZA, which
another FPS dropping game.
To me and everyone else's surprise, it actually looks to be running at a somewhat stable 30 frames per second.
30. The bar is so low.
Game Freak, you're learning.
The bar is so low.
I know, right? Sad.
30 frames.
But excuse me, my voice is giving out. But the main thing they showed off in the trailer was you have a dynamic day and night system where in the day you're catching the Pokemon, but at nighttime you fight rival trainers on site. And if you want a full breakdown on this, check out Lords of Gaming's article cover it, where our newest writer, Don Otaku, did a great job breaking the whole trailer down. Rhythm Heaven Groove was revealed, which is a new installment in the Rhythm Heaven series. It's launching 2026. Oh, and about Pokemon, by the way. It is slated for late 2025. Usually by this point we have a release window or release date. So having a general late 2025 indicates that this is going to be the main Pokemon game for this year, while they kind of figure out what they want to do with the Switch 2. But back on topic. There's the virtual game card feature, which basically is a digital tool where if you buy a digital copy of a game on the eShop, you could share that copy with people on your family plan and people you trust with Switches nearby. And the feature is going to be releasing in late April 2025. We have an article breaking down what this all means. on lordsofgaming.net. High on Life, the enjoyable first-person shooter made by Squanch Games of Rick and Morty fame, is coming out on Switch May 6th, and it looks to be based off of the PS4 and Xbox One version of the game, which hopefully it runs well. Star Overdrive is another game, and the game is described as race across an alien planet in high-speed action-adventure. Glide on your hoverboard, mastering gravity-defying tricks, battling powerful enemies, and solve puzzles. The game is going to be releasing on Switch and Steam April 10th. And Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time from Level 5, releasing on Switch May 21st. And Saga Frontier 2 Remastered got a reveal trailer. The Monument Valley series is coming to the Switch. Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, what I mentioned earlier, is coming to Switch, PlayStation, platforms, and PC this year. And it looks to be, it's really exciting to see. And for all of us classic Marvel fans who love Marvel vs. Capcom and beat 'em ups like Konami's X-Men, rejoice as the TMNT Shredder's Revenge team is back again, making Marvel Cosmic Invasion, where up to 12 iconic heroes and villains from Marvel's lineup work together in a 4-player co-op beat-em-up, and it looks awesome. It's releasing on all platforms this year. And the last major release was Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. And I'm just gonna say what news writer Don Otaku said about the title. Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream is a delightful surprise, bringing back a quirky favorite with an island twist and level up beats. It is a modest evolution that still feels true to the original's charm, and as it stands, it is now my most anticipated game of 2026. And it's a really wild experience, and the original 3DS game was weird, but it was like that funny kind of weird. So, and Nintendo ended the direct with the reveal of Nintendo Today, like a little news app that you install on your phone, and they give daily updates. One of those updates was about the Zelda movie that's launching in 2027, and my voice is basically gone now. So, any comments, good sir?
Yay, go Nintendo!
I lost my voice detailing everything, and that's all you gotta say.
I have no interest in the platform or the platform's games. Gotta be real.
Wow. I guess we're gonna move on to College Football 25. It dropped on Game Pass Ultimate. So if you held out just like most EA titles, if you hold out 6 to 12 months, you can enjoy EA titles on Game Pass. And it's a big deal, college football, because it's a big game. And this coming to Game Pass is big. But sure. Now I'm going to let you take over for the next final batch of stuff because my voice needs a break.
MindsEye developers say ability to run over children was a bug. MindsEye was officially released in early access on Friday. And one of the first viral experiences making the rounds was the fact that the game allowed you to run over children. According to developers, however, this wasn't supposed to be the case.
So are you saying that we're not supposed to run over children?
Yes. What are you doing at your school, RK?
I was making a joke, and you just really set me up there, man. Wow. Wow. You really set me up. FYI, we don't run
That's getting clipped.
That is not getting clipped, good sir. That is not. But bugs are something.
Yeah, everybody's saying they're doing what GTA can't do, and then oh wait, it was a bug.
No, that's gonna be in GTA 6 now. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so this article apparently doesn't exist anymore, so I guess we'll cut that one out.
Oh yes.
Let's talk about our final story, which we kind of alluded to earlier, but Noah North, the voice of Nathan Drake, welcomes Troy Baker and Indiana Jones to PS5 on April 17th.
Oh, yes. This is the level of marketing that PlayStation used to do back in the day with, like, yeah, I have to crash with the boombox in front of Nintendo's office. Come out, plumber boy. I love that energy. And Microsoft having that is really cool.
This is more marketing than Microsoft did last year.
Because they probably realized that most sales for Indiana Jones is potentially going to be on PS5.
So you're saying Game Pass doesn't do numbers?
It did well on PC, and I think Xbox people did buy it. But I think what Microsoft is looking at now is they don't really worry. They're not. I imagine they would like good sales on there, on Xbox platforms, and I imagine games do sell reasonably well on Xbox to a degree. But in terms of just raw sales numbers, they're probably there's a reason why they're bringing all this stuff to other platforms, because on other platforms there's no Game Pass, so their audience isn't trained to not buy their releases. So
yeah, and that's a wrap.
Oh yes.
Yeah, excited. We're gonna have a calm few months for a bit until June, where we have a lot of hitters. And you have Doom and Oblivion in April, I think, or April, May.
Calm? What do you mean calm? Next April's gonna be really busy. Like you have a ton of releases dropping in April. You have the Switch 2. All right, you don't care.
Depending on your taste. For me, I think I'm gonna play South Midnight. We'll see, but I will see. I don't intend to play Oblivion yet. I'm kind of RPG'd out for the moment.
I mean, you just went through KCD too, man. Like that's hardcore stuff right there.
Yeah, and AC Shadows is like a light RPG, so there's also that.
Yeah, on my end for April, South of Midnight, I'm definitely gonna be playing.
What's that Indiana Jones DLC though? They announced it, didn't they?
Do you think
give it a name? So like,
do you think that's gonna launch alongside the PlayStation release?
Because when would they announce it? Because they gave it a name.
I'm guessing maybe they announced it as a shadow drop after the Xbox showcase in June. Because that could be a really great you could play it right now.
Yeah, it's called the Order of the Giants, the DLC.
I think that might be something they just shadow drop in June. Because at that point, PlayStation players they'll give an excuse for PlayStation players to come back to the game, Xbox and PC players to come back to the game, and if they release, and it could be bundled in with the Switch 2 release of the game.
Oh yeah, probably. But yeah, we'll see soon enough. Any final words for the audience?
Just shout outs to Insider Gaming for a majority of the stories that we used for outsourcing. You can check out our stuff on Twitter. And just while I have the time, I want to just say April is going to be a very exciting month. We got a lot of great reveals incoming with the Switch 2, and a lot of great games to play, and now things are really picking up now. Things are getting pretty busy, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And just a heads up for anybody who has laptops and or considering just throwing it in their backpack and not really worrying about them being in good condition. Just heads up. Get a good case for your laptop. Because if you do not, you could end up having to pay a little bit to get it repaired, like Lord Sonic did. So don't be like Lord Sonic.
Silly Sonic. Yeah. Keep that thing tight. I have no words for the.
That's just I care with you. Okay, Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, and make sure to keep your cameras functional.